begins tonight.
And dignity
of the people of Kenya.
Of the people of Kenya.
A new dawn for Kenya as William Ruto gets sworn in as president and Rigathi Gachagua as deputy president.
Not for her to say how she has to respond.
Kosase continues to question Uganda Airlines CEO Jennifer Bamoturaki on trips made and procurement flaws. Plus, Tondeka buses start operations in the city, but will they last? And in sports, former Cranes midfielder to be honored as he goes into retirement. Hello and welcome to the program, those of you watching from Uganda and beyond. This is a PM edition. My name is Bernadette Apio. Our sign language interpreter, Isaac Luchamozi. Thank you so much for having us on tonight. From humble beginnings in Kamagut to State House, Kenya, William Ruto is Kenya's 5th president. The new president of Kenya took oath of office at a colorful event that was held at Kasarani International Stadium in Nairobi. He was sworn in by the Chief Register of the Judiciary and Amadi in the presence of Chief Justice Martha Koome. His deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, was sworn in after him. We have more.
With a few hours to the inauguration of Dr. William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua as president and deputy president respectively, excited Kenyans graced the Kasarani Stadium as early as 5 a.m., filling its 60,000 capacity to the brim. Carrying the Kenyan national flags, trumpets and whistles, Kenyan citizens waved their flashlights in the early hours, dancing to the new regime that was due to take the mantle. The excitement from the citizens was clearly seen as they welcomed the president-elect William Ruto's motorcade with cheers and whistles. Shortly after, the incumbent president Uhuru Kenyatta arrived at the ceremony ground, upon which he was welcomed by the roaring crowd who waved the outgoing president for the last time.
Thank you, Shikilia Maroon. Thank you.
After the national anthem, for the last time Uhuru Kenyatta inspected the guard of honor, after which the business of the day started with prayers and speeches from different dignitaries.
That upon this altar, you will give him the wisdom that is required to lead this nation.
One that 8-4 and one that 8-10.
Ruto then took 2 oaths. First, the oath of allegiance, then the oath of execution of office.
And that I will protect
and uphold the sovereignty, integrity, and dignity
of
the people of Kenya. So help me God.
So help me God.
He then signed the oath and certificate of inauguration, officially making him the 5th president of Kenya. Then it was time for his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, to take the oaths.
As deputy president,
I assume as deputy president
of the Republic of Kenya.
But that was not all. Before assuming the power, the new president needed to receive the ceremonial sword from the outgoing president, making him the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Kenya. With Uhuru Kenyatta now officially a former president, his official picture was taken down and replaced by that of William Ruto. The changing of the presidential standard will be the final part of the procedure, with Kenyatta's standard being lowered to make way for Ruto's. This would then be followed by a 21 cannon salute. The outgoing president then received this flag to mark the end of his 10-year leadership, officially making him a civilian. In his inaugural speech, the deputy president hit out at the former president, stating the new government's preparedness to take over from Mwai Kibaki's work.
We have a 10 trillion public debt. 6 million Kenyans have no employment. 14 million Kenyans are in CRB. We have a demoralized public service. It is your prayers that will help our president to put up a team and start work from day one to liberate this country economically and put it back to where President Mwai Kibaki left us 10 years ago.
While addressing the nation at Kasarani Stadium, President Ruto commended the people for having a peaceful election and smooth transition of power.
By the grace of God, we have got here. And let me say, that standing here today is testimony that there is a God in heaven.
In attendance, President Museveni congratulated the president upon his victory, while also commending the leadership of the former president.
So all of the political class in Africa, I would appeal to you to answer that question. Where does prosperity come from?
Among those in attendance were the East African community presidents and other African heads of states showing their backing for the president-elect. However, the opposition leader Raila Odinga and his camp were the notable absentees at the ceremony, earlier citing their reasons for their absence. Kenyan citizens will be eager to see how the new regime will exercise its powers, with issues such as fallout with the former president and increase in essential commodities shadowing the country. Absalom Ongoro reporting for CTV PM Edition.
Congratulations to His Excellency William Ruto and his team. Back home, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayebwa, has challenged member states of the East African community to make a leaf from Kenya's democratic path. Kenyans held their general elections peacefully, and the transition of power from President Uhuru Kenyatta to William Ruto has been smooth.
Pursuant to the provisions of Articles 138, 10A, 143, 48.3 of the Constitution of Kenya.
In his communication to Parliament, Tayebwa congratulated Kenya's new President William Samoei Ruto and Kenyans for having had a free and fair, peaceful presidential election. He asked the East African community member states to pick a leaf from Kenya to ensure stability, because political instability cannot strengthen the community.
I want to take this honor and opportunity to congratulate His Excellency William Ruto and the people of Kenya for exercising their democratic right through the ballot, and urge the rest of the East African community to draw lessons for the future of the community.
In his response, on behalf of the Leader of Opposition, Mwanga Chivombi, who is the Butambala County Member of Parliament, said that Kenya poses a challenge to Ugandan leaders who deliberately compromise and involve government institutions in divisive politics.
Honorable Speaker, there is nothing as good as a good example. If you can't learn from a good example, then you can't learn from anything. What is going on in Kenya is a big lesson and a challenge to Uganda. On our watch, we watched President Moi peacefully hand over to Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki, on our watch, peacefully handed over to Uhuru Kenyatta. On our watch today, we are witnessing Uhuru Kenyatta peacefully handed over to Samuel Ruto.
Mwanga cited Uganda's judiciary, security forces like police and the army, which are always used by the ruling national resistance movement to campaign and torture other candidates.
Above all else, there is a country. I've seen the behavior of Honorable Raila Odinga conceding defeat. You've seen the president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, support one president, one candidate, and the candidate gracefully loses. I've seen the military completely staying out of politics. I've seen the security apparatus completely staying out of politics. I've seen generals peacefully saluting a candidate that was not supported by an incumbent president. That's what we must learn from.
Several African leaders, including President Museveni, attended Ruto's swearing-in at Kasarani Stadium in Nairobi, Kenya. Safi Mokele Baluku and Sarah Nakande for CTV PM Edition.
Now, as stipulated in the Public Finance Act of the Constitution, where the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development is supposed to hold budget consultations with different stakeholders, the ministry has held a national budget conference for the 2023-2024 budget. Adams Mayambala has more.
8, 9.
Finance Minister Matia Kasaija presented the budget strategy for the next financial year, citing no significant changes from the current budget. Kasaija said the strategy is focused on tackling a number of issues, including the restoration of the economy to its pre-COVID-19 pandemic state. Other strategies, according to Kasaija, include restoration of the balance between human capital development and infrastructure development, boosting economic recovery and resilience of enterprises, security and good governance.
Investment in human capital development will therefore be at the core of the remaining 2 years of the plan, at par with infrastructure development. The thrust of the budget strategy for financial 23-24 is premised on 4 key strategic interventions areas, which are: 1, enhancing security, good governance, and the rule of law; 2, boosting economic recovery and enterprise resilience.
Kasaija said there is need to strengthen the rule of law, which calls for construction and equipping courts of law, which will address the issue of case backlog. The implementation of the parish development model is one of the strategic priorities.
Parishes will be equipped and resourced to enhance service delivery under the parish development model as we all know it. Rule of law. In order to further enhance the rule of law, access to justice will be promoted by construction and equipping of courts and additional justice centers, recruit additional judicial and relevant non-judicial officers to extend judicial services nearer to the people.
At the event that was chaired by the Prime Minister Robin Nabanja, civil society groups including Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, CSBAG, ACOD, and the Private Sector Foundation expressed concern over leakages in tax collection, tax exemptions, inadequate fiscal transfer to local governments, and food insecurity, which government has to address to spur development.
Address leakages in our tax collection. In the just concluded High Growth Economic Forum, we got examples of how taxes can actually be evaded. One way was where you receive an invoice from the exporting country. By the time the invoice arrives at our border, the invoice is almost half the price, and we lose money.
It is like the US, I see the US mission director here. Country like the US, they have food reserves that can last them for about 15 years, even if they didn't grow food. What's wrong with us? Stockpiling our food and securing our food. And I want to implore you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, that food security is national security.
This money comes, but under the hybrid procurement, where the central government is supposed to get contractors through a hybrid arrangement and send them to local governments, we have not been able to lay even a foundation for one seed secondary school since 2020. Money comes to the local governments, we wait to get a contractor who never appears, we send the money back. And what is the explanation? Local governments lack a capacity to absorb. It is an insult.
Local development partners, including USAID, advised government to focus on human capital development, agriculture, climate change, and infrastructure development.
One is human capital development. We welcome the trend towards increasing budget allocations on human capital in line with the commitment under the IMF-financed facility. Going forward, it will be important to increase expenditures for health and education further, specifically early childhood learning and skilling, reproductive health and health systems strengthening to make steady progress toward achieving sustainable development goals.
Nabanja, on behalf of President Museveni, said the budget needs to focus on agreed areas in the National Development Plan 3, the implementation of the parish development model, civil service salary reviews, and addressing the dangers of climate change. Adams Mayambala, CTV, PM Edition.
Thank you, Adams. The Parliamentary Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authority and State Enterprises has asked Jennifer Bamuturaki, the Chief Executive Officer of Uganda Airlines, to refund over 48.4 million shillings advanced to her as per diem in 2021. According to the committee, the money was supposed to be used to benchmark on the operations of the airline in some countries of Africa, which was never done.
According to the Auditor General's report of 2020-2021, Uganda Airlines CEO Jennifer Bamuturaki was paid $1,750 approximately 50 million shillings to visit Nairobi, Burundi, Juba, Dar es Salaam, Kinshasa, Kilimanjaro, and other countries to benchmark airline business. A matter that came up as she was appearing before the members of the Parliamentary Committee of COSAC, which is chaired by the Nakao West MP Joel Senyonyi. When tasked to answer, Bamuturaki did not comply at first.
In June of last year, you put in a requisition to travel to the different stations in different countries, country offices and all of that, to visit our teams, Uganda Airlines teams in these countries, the country offices, to establish how they are operating. Money was released per diem to you, totaling $12,750. When you make a conversion to Uganda shillings, that's roughly 50 million Uganda shillings. But according to the financial records of Uganda Airlines, you did not travel.
For financial year 2020-21 report, what he's brought up, I'll respond in writing.
After pressing her hard, Uganda Airlines CEO Bamuturaki admitted that she indeed traveled to a few countries but did not avail travel evidence. She then decided to request for more time to present the evidence before the committee, which was rejected.
And that's why I said I'll respond in writing and also attach where I travel.
Okay, so before you respond in writing, which place or which places did you go to among these?
I went to Nairobi.
The phone is on. Go ahead.
I went to Nairobi. I went to Dar es Salaam. I went to Kilimanjaro. And then I will be traveling again. So that's why I'm saying I'll respond in writing the details.
The committee today also accused the Uganda Airlines CEO of being arrogant.
We're trying to annoy us. I don't know why. Because our work is just to do the audit, what the auditors have brought to us, and find out exactly the truth about it. Sometimes we protect you, because these auditors, sometimes they don't, their recommendations are not always perfect.
This is a committee of parliament, and perhaps a standing committee with the part of the High Court. I saw one time on a TV, not social media, that same individual alleging that her appointment is a gift.
It would come from you to direct, okay, go and put further answers in writing, but not for her to say how she has to respond.
Meanwhile, the airline management has been faulted for illegal procurements with no contract committees, leading to the losses amounting to 1.2 billion shillings. Audit query implicated the airline for having spent the money on purchasing plain headphones, pillows, serving trays, blankets and others, but there was no evidence of procurement.
Not in use, it's true, because we hadn't started self-handling. There was a process that needed to happen. So before that, the equipment would be lying idle. On the matter of contracts committee not sitting, yes, we also noted that as an anomaly at the time, because it was something that happened in 2020, 2021.
Investigations into the operation of Uganda Airlines are still going on, especially on the queries raised by the Auditors General's report. Sarah Nakandi for CTV PM Edition.
Government has today announced that it will carry out the National Housing and Population Census on the 24th and 25th of August this year, 2023. According to the Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomusi, they are to use the de facto method of carrying out the census, meaning that it will be carried out at night.
Every after 10 years, government carries out National Housing and Population Census to record the official enumeration of all persons in the country at a specific time for purposes of planning and budget for the country. In his address on the cabinet resolutions this morning, the Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomusi, revealed that the next census will take place on the night of the 24th and 25th of August 2023.
As you know, we carry out censuses every 10 years to establish the number of the people in the country and the households, as well as a number of parameters and indicators that we use to measure the progress we are registering, but also we get statistics which are important for planning and budgeting. And we did set the night of 24th August, leading is 25th August 2023 as the census night.
According to Minister Baryomusi, it is important for Ugandans to embrace the census and explains the method of census that will be used.
There is what we call the de facto method, like this one where you choose one night and then the enumerators come and ask you the people who slept or spent the night in that home that night. So that's the method which we are going to use.
The Minister for ICT and National Guidance says the floating population will also be considered during the census.
The floating population also is counted because there are people who are homeless, who have no houses, they live on the streets. There are people who will be traveling, probably they spend the night in the bus going, all those are counted. And also for cities like Kampala, we also use the methodologies where you establish the night population and the daytime population. Because you notice like Kampala, there are more people in the town during the day, but they spend the nights elsewhere.
Population census is carried out by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. The first census took place over 100 years ago with the 1911 population census. The 2014 census report indicated that Uganda had a population of 36.9 million. Martha Amanya, CTV, PM Edition.
PM Edition takes a short break. Plenty more when we return. Don't go away.
Three words: convenience, passion, and pride. Introducing the KCCA app made for you to interact with the best football club in Uganda, giving you the latest news, transfers, membership options, merchandise online shop, match ticket booking, and fan zone instant Messenger. To download the Beta app, go to Google Play Store on your Android and search for KCFC. Download the app, sign up, and voila, you're in. Yes, the app is only available for Android users. iOS users, we are coming soon. The KCCFC app, inspired by you, made for you.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching a PM edition. Now, a survey on businesses and taxation in Uganda shows that many enterprises in Uganda do not celebrate their 5th birthday because of various operational challenges. The survey report that was released today by Twaweza East Africa also indicates that many business owners do not want to pay taxes because they do not understand what taxes are used for.
2019 and 2020, Twaweza East Africa, a research-based non-government organization, carried out a survey in 75 districts in Uganda and found out that at least 45% of Ugandans have ever set up businesses, but the enterprises collapse in less than 5 years. The report further indicates that as much as Ugandans are willing to own their businesses, finding capital to boost and sustain them is a challenge.
The key challenge that businesses face is capital, access to capital, that to a point that for those that closed, when we ask what are some of the reasons their businesses closed, we see lower mentions of COVID-19.
Key among them that has also been reflected by the Ministry of Finance is the linkage between taxation and service delivery, because tax is a mandatory payment. You don't expect an immediate service, not a quid pro quo.
This survey that captured most urban areas indicated that many of Ugandans still lack information on taxation. The report shows that some Ugandans think that Uganda Revenue Authority is an enemy to Ugandans because the tax body does not appreciate their operational challenges before demanding taxes. According to Professor Fred Muhumuza, an economist, government needs to devise strategies of assisting Ugandans to start their businesses since they were affected during the COVID-19 breakout in 2019.
But also the performance of the economy. Let's not forget that the targets for URA are set on assumptions of what the economic growth will be like in the coming year, how the businesses will perform. Now, URA has the task of actually walking into these entities, and sometimes you walk to the entity and you're able to realize that the business is not performing as predicted.
Number of Ugandans that say taxes are fair dropped from 33% to 13%. However, even with that in place, we see that Ugandans are more receptive of taxation in principle. We see less people saying that they would be willing to cheat on taxes. We see more people saying that they would pay taxes because they believe that this will help in service delivery.
Michael Masembe, who is in charge of tax education at URA, said they are doing their best to digitalize their taxation systems.
And the recommendation that we set up an integrity function to dedicate itself to to growing that culture within URA, within the processes, and within our systems. So we know there is work to do. We know there is.
He said they have introduced programs to sensitize the public on how they benefit from the taxes.
Civil societies advocating for social and economic rights have urged citizens to take up their civic responsibilities and demand for accountability from public service. According to the CSOs, there is a big decline in the quality of public services.
Civil societies working in the areas of health, education, electricity and water among others today held a meeting in Kampala to discuss where they can bring quality public service back into the mainstream. According to the civil society organizations working under the umbrella LICLAIM, Public Services Coalition, parents are stranded with children because they lack school fees and the high cost of essential commodities such as food and fuel. Alena Kembabazi, the program manager, Initiative for Social and Economic Rights, wants government to start providing free health care and education for all.
Demand that we must have health care and education for all, free at point of use. It must be provided by government. It must be of quality. We must curb the corruption and illicit financial flows that have made us waste money that could be used to invest in healthcare and education. This is a fight not just for us, but for our children.
The government of Uganda is mandated by law to provide quality public services according to the resources that the country has. But this will be enhanced if citizens join in accountability, if citizens join in monitoring and ensuring that if National Medical Stores is delivering medicines to health centers in our communities, they are there to witness. Are they part of the health management committees at their level? Are they part of the school management committees? They need to be interested in these services because they are our services and ensure that they function as they are supposed to function.
Officials from the National Union of Women of Disabilities say many people, especially those living with disabilities, find it difficult to gain access to justice.
Imagine that a deaf person has been abused. Now this person will need a sign language interpreter, and he or she may not be able to make this sign language interpreter to come because of facilitation. So this is about cost of the people who help them. The other thing is that sometimes they lack self-confidence.
In 2021, the Reclaim Public Services Coalition was launched with a goal of strengthening and improving quality public social services. Shamim Natebo Wetendo, CTV, Pimedi.
Thank you, Shamim. Now, efforts to boost transportation in Kampala Metropolitan continue to take shape. Tondeka Bus Company has launched its operations in the city. The bus company has started its operations with 5 buses taking one route of operation. Chris Makula has more.
Tondeka Bus Company managers say their aim is to make transport affordable. The maiden trip started at the Electric Commission stage on Ginger Road through Lugogo, Nakawa and through Ntinda to Wandege and then to the Constitutional Square. According to the Tondeka Bus Company Public Relations Officer, Maurice Muchibi, the move to start with 5 buses is intended to prepare Ugandans for the new service.
This bus has got a number of features that are unique compared to other buses. One, we have free Wi-Fi. In Uganda, I've not seen any bus that has got free Wi-Fi. So commuters are able to enjoy the Wi-Fi, internet, free of charge, as long as you store on board onto the bus. It has universal access. People with a disability are able to use it. We've got a special space for the wheelchair where it can be placed. People who are sick, we have these other lower seats where they can sit comfortably.
Muchibi says amidst the increasing fuel prices in the country, Tondeka Bus will charge only 1,000 Ugandan shillings on various routes.
We are taking more people. If you are taking more than 85 people and almost consuming the same amount of fuel compared to someone who is using a 14-seater. So because you're taking very many people, the more people you ferry or the more people you transport or you carry, the lower you have to be charging them. And we also look at the affordability issue. You know, Ugandans spend more money on transport, even more than on other things.
A few days ago, the deputy spokesperson of KCCA, Robert Kalumba, welcomed the move to support the Tondeka buses.
As KCCA, our job is to try and streamline and improve the transport sector in Kampala. We are talking about bus lanes, we are talking about bus stops, we are talking about streamlining even the border industry, streamlining the taxi industry. All these things are meant to try and benefit the Kampala resident and present an orderly transport system in Kampala.
Several passengers who were seen on the maiden trip appreciated the service. By the end of December, Tondeka Bus Company intends to have more than 30 buses on various routes. Safi, Mokele Belugu and Chris, Semalemo Semakula for CTV, Pure Edition.
Thank you, Samakola, for that report. In news from the region, an airstrike has wounded at least 1 person in Mekele, the capital of Ethiopia's northern Tigray region, 2 days after Tigrayan forces were preparing for a ceasefire, while lawmakers exchanged blows in Senegal's 14th Assembly. The strike hit the business campus of Mekelle University and the Mitsi Iwoyani TV station, which is run by the regional government. According to Kibrom Gebreselesi, the chief executive officer at Aida Referral Hospital, he cited a witness who arrived with a man wounded in the strike. The airstrike is the third to hit Mekelle since the nearly 2-year-old conflict resumed late last month after a 5-month ceasefire. Each side blames the other for the renewed fighting. The Tigray People's Liberation Front, which governs Tigray, said on Sunday it was ready for a ceasefire without preconditions and would accept an African Union-led peace process. Diplomats have described the offer as a potential breakthrough. The Ethiopian government has not yet officially responded. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, appointed as the AU's chief mediator, met with the American envoy to the Horn of Africa region, Mike Hammer, on Monday. Djibouti's former ambassador to Ethiopia, Mohamed Idris Farah, who was also present. In Senegal's parliament, tension was high and MPs highly strung. Per the agenda, the 165 members of parliament were to elect their president. However, the assembly failed to reach an agreement on electoral process, so much so that the deputies of the opposition and the presidential campaign came to blows and the police were called. It's eventually Amadou Mam Diop, a member of the ruling coalition, who was elected. The vote was boycotted by the main opposition parties, Yawi Askanwi and Walu Senegal, which failed to name a single candidate. The two parties struck a blow against their ruling coalition during the last election, winning 80 seats to force the President Beno Bokyaka coalition to look for allies to keep its absolute majority. MPs are elected for a 5-year period. This time, more than 44% of the seats are held by women, the biggest share in West Africa. Other stories making headlines across the globe. Fresh tensions break out between former Soviet Union's Armenia and Azerbaijan, while Ukraine reclaims part of their homeland from Russia. Escalation of hostilities between the South Caucasus countries has fueled fears a fully fledged war could break out between the former Soviet Unions. Armenia says several towns near the border with Azerbaijan had been shelled in the early hours of Tuesday morning. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan accused Azerbaijan of attacking Armenian towns because it did not want to negotiate over the status of Nagorno-Karabakh, an enclave inside Azerbaijan which is mainly populated by ethnic Armenians. The intensity of hostilities has decreased by attacks on one or two fronts from Azerbaijan continue. Pashinyan said in a speech to Parliament. He said it came after recent European Union-backed talks in Brussels with Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev, which revealed what he said was Azerbaijan's uncompromised stand. It said Armenian forces had been engaged in intelligence activity on its border, moved weapons into the area, and had planted mines. Russia, which has around 2,000 soldiers deployed in the region as part of a previous peace deal, moved quickly to broker a ceasefire. Ukrainian forces retake 6,000 square kilometers of their homeland and thousands of Russian prisoners of war, reports claim. As blue and yellow Ukrainian flags fluttered over newly liberated towns, it is claimed Ukraine has taken so many Russians captive, the country is running out of space to accommodate them. And in his nightly address to his nation, President Volodymyr Zelensky said the advance of forces was still continuing. His claims appear to be supported by renowned think tank, the Institute for Study of War, a US-based group which provides research and analysis of defense and foreign affairs. A spokesman for Ukrainian military intelligence said Russian troops were surrendering in large numbers as they understand the hopelessness of their situation, and an advisor to President Zelensky has said there were so many prisoners of war, the country was running out of space to accommodate them. It is claimed Ukrainian military had freed more than 20 settlements in 24 hours. PM Edition takes another short break and returns with news from the world of sports. Don't go away. Thank you for staying with us. In sports tonight, former Uganda Cranes international Tony Maweje will play 2 testimonial matches starting tomorrow before ending his football career. The Maweje testimonial matches will be played on Wednesday and Friday in Lugogo and Masaka district respectively.